I just finished the introduction and first chapter, and I need a moment. This is incredibly heavy material.
I know exactly what you mean. When I got to that line about the victim had become the accused, my stomach just dropped. But what really got to me was how Bruce sets up his entire childhood first. Like he's methodically building this case for who he is as a person.
Yes, that's exactly what struck me too. The way he opens with that brutal attack in his apartment, then immediately shifts to, this book isn't just about that night. He knows what we're thinking. He knows we need context to understand how impossible this accusation is.
The childhood sections are devastating in a completely different way. That moment with the swimming instructor when he's 4 or 5 years old, I knew it was something that I wasn't meant to have. That's when my heart broke for this kid.
That line about the birth of shame, when he realizes he's not supposed to know what it feels like to be held and protected, and then decades later he's comforting his startled cat in a way his parents never comforted him. I literally had to put the book down.
Chimanyain, what's so powerful is how he's not asking for pity. He's presenting evidence. Look at this person. Look at the vows he made. Look at how he chose gentleness despite everything. When his sister flinched because he stood up too quickly, and he immediately vows, "No one will ever fear me."
That second vow hit me hard. In a house where fear was a weapon, he rejected it completely. And you can see how that shaped every interaction. Even during the attack, he says some instinct kept him from fighting back because of some ingrained idea about not hitting a woman.
That detail about the selective mute of him is fascinating too. He could speak to customers, to cousins, to anyone outside school, but school was this tomb of silence. It shows someone who was deeply traumatized but still capable of human connection when he felt safe.
The family dynamics are so complex. His mother calling him a house devil and a street angel, the irony is painful. He saved his warmth for people who deserved it, while his parents got silence and distance. Can you blame him?
What I keep thinking about is the intentionality of this structure. Bruce isn't just telling us his story, he's making a case. Every detail about his childhood, his vows, his relationship with violence, it's all building toward, this is who I was before that night. Could this person have done what they're accusing him of?
And it's working on me. When I read about that woman bursting into his apartment and attacking him, I believed it immediately, not just because he's telling us, but because everything about who he is, the boy who froze when a dog charged, who made vows never to hurt anyone, it all makes sense.
The writing itself is so controlled too. Look at how he describes the attack. It's visceral and brutal, but never sensationalized. Blood filled my mouth, sharp, metallic. He's not trying to manipulate our emotions. He's just showing us what happened.
That moment when he finds her phone and thinks maybe now they'll identify his attacker, and then an hour later the street is full of police cars. The complete reversal is nauseating. You can feel that moment when his world tilted.
What's haunting me is that line. It's about what happens when the truth doesn't matter. Because you realize this isn't just about one false accusation. This is about a man who spent his entire life being gentle, being protective, choosing to break cycles of violence, and none of that matters when someone decides to lie.
I keep thinking about the detectives. They never asked who I was. In their minds, they already had their perpetrator, the bloodied man sitting across from them, whose entire life could have testified to his character. None of that was relevant to their predetermined narrative.
It makes you wonder how many people in the justice system actually look at the whole person. Bruce spent his life helping trauma survivors as a therapist, but that doesn't matter if you've already decided someone's guilt.
This is just the beginning, too. We haven't even gotten to the chapters about his work with rape survivors. I imagine that's going to add another layer of tragic irony. The man who dedicated his career to helping victims of sexual violence being falsely accused of the very crime he fought against.
Chi, what scares me is how this could happen to anyone. Bruce did everything right. He was gentle, kind, professional, dedicated his life to helping others. And still, one person's lie could destroy everything he'd built.
The title, Three Times a Victim, is starting to make sense. Victim of childhood abuse, victim of the attack, and then victim of the false accusation. Each trauma builds on the last.
I have to say, as a man reading this, it's terrifying. Not because I don't believe women. I absolutely do. And false accusations are statistically rare. But this shows how, when they do happen, they can destroy someone who spent their entire life trying to be good.
That's what makes this so compelling, though. Bruce isn't making some broader argument against believing women. He's making a very specific case. Look at who I am. Look at my entire life. Could this person have done what they're accusing me of? And the answer, at least for me, is becoming clearer with every page.
I'm dreading and anticipating the rest of the story in equal measure. How do you rebuild from something like this? How do you maintain your faith in justice, in truth, in basic human decency?
I think that's why he wrote this book, not just to tell his story, but to explore those impossible questions. What happens when the truth doesn't matter? How do you survive when the world has already decided your guilt?
One thing I'm curious about, he mentions there was no physical evidence collected from the scene that would support his account. The police could have gathered blood evidence, could have documented the crime scene properly, but apparently didn't. It makes you wonder what evidence might have existed that could have supported his version of events.
That's what's so frustrating. This isn't a he said, she said case about consent. This is a case where there should have been clear physical evidence, blood patterns, DNA, signs of struggle. But if the police had already made up their minds,
I'm invested now. I need to know how this resolves if it ever does. And more than that, I need to understand how someone survives this kind of betrayal by the systems that are supposed to protect us.
what gets me is that Bruce seems to understand this might never be fully resolved. He's not writing this expecting vindication. He's writing it to examine what happens when truth becomes irrelevant, when your entire character becomes meaningless in the face of an accusation.
This is going to stay with me for a long time. The image of that 4-year-old boy realizing he wasn't meant to be held, growing into a man who vowed never to make anyone feel unsafe, only to be accused of the very thing he spent his life fighting against. It's heartbreaking and infuriating and deeply human all at once.